in South Wales, a small industrial revolution was yesterday brought to a triumphant climax. The Chancellor of the Exchequer, Mr. Gateskill, had come here to Port Talbot in Glamorgan to set into motion with the flick of a lever the latest addition to the Abbey Steelworks of Margam, the largest plant of its kind in Europe. And to mark this great day in industrial history, a Welsh dragon, forged in the steel of Margam, was presented to the Chancellor. Behind this brief ceremony lies a story that goes back 4 years to 1947, when only the ruins of an ancient abbey stood guard over the desolate marshland. How the transformation was brought about, how this site was turned into a showpiece of British industry, is told by our industrial correspondent, Bertram Mycock.
A stretch of marshland between the sea and the mountains of Glamorgan. That's all there was when this project of great enterprise was launched. 4 steel companies pooled their resources to do the job. And what a job it was. There were dunes to be leveled, 5 million tons of sand to be shifted, roads, rivers, railways to be diverted. These and thousands of other operations had to be done to turn a waste area about the size of Hyde Park into a site of industrial prosperity. The plan involved as well the enlargement of the existing works at Port Talbot, onto which the new plant at Margam was to be built. From tip to tip, it was scheduled to stretch for 3.5 miles. The tall frames rose quickly, and soon a forest of cranes looked out over an area of never-ceasing activity. Through sweltering summers and bitter winters, the 7,000 men of Margam carried on with hardly a pause, unpublicized and unsung. Occasionally there were delays. It was inevitable in a job of such magnitude. But all this time, the giants of brick and steel were rising in the sky, quietly and quickly taking on their new shapes. Of 1949, the giant was coming to life. The plan of an industrial creation unequaled in post-war history was nearing its fulfillment. Man and machine had worked wonders on a site where there had been little life since the abbey crumbled into ruins. And even while the mill was still being completed, the machines to go inside it were fitted into place. Much of the plant came from the United States under Marshall aid, and with it came much of the know-how, invaluable technical advice for which the steelmen were duly grateful. The great achievement of Margam lies in the fact that it's an integrated whole. From the time the shipload of iron ore, mostly foreign, arrives at the reconstructed wharf, the process is continuous. The ore joins up with the local limestone and coal, and along miles of overhead conveyors, the raw materials that go into the making of steel flow on their way. At the end of this series of conveyors lie the blast furnaces, which turn the raw materials into molten iron. The furnace is tapped. presses have done their job, and with the open hearth furnaces having turned the iron into steel, the ingots are now on their way to the soaking pits. Reheated to a glowing red, the ingots are lifted from the soaking pits by great overhead cranes, just like lumps of sugar are picked up in sugar tongs. The process is continuous. The flow never stops. And from here, the ingot, still red hot and weighing perhaps 50,000 pounds, is taken to the slabbing mill. Two operators, seated in leather armchairs, wait to control the ingots with a flick of the finger and a movement of the foot. Their control of the levers will turn the ingot into a slab of steel, squeezing it between the rollers of the slabbing mill. First the ingot is weighed, then it's all in the hands of the two operators. From the slabbing mill onto the hot strip mill, that part of the plant which was opened yesterday. Here, in a building that stretches for 3/4 of a mile, the red-hot metal is rolled thinner and thinner until it finally emerges in sheets for cans, for cars, for ships. Of the strip mill, the rolling of steel was done entirely by the long, slow process of the hand mill. By this new method, the output of sheet steel and strip from Margam should be well over 1 million tons a year when full production is achieved. In the words of the King, this plant will make a valuable contribution to our ability to maintain our historic position in a free world.